Now, if you're watching this video and you're worried about getting spoiled on Dandadan, you are indeed correct. There's no way to entice you guys to read Dandadan without throwing in some spoilers. I have to. But I do implore all the anime-only Dandadan fans to read the manga. Yo, the manga is fire. I'm gonna tell you why. Oh yeah, and I got some papers with me because I want to make sure I get all my notes across. Now, Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia have ended. And as we already know, Gege and Horikoshi were catching a lot of heat for the way they ended their series. But it did open the doors for some new mangaka to rise up. Yukinobu Tatsu is a mangaka with a background in a lot of romance, but one day he decided to get into kind of the battle shonen scene. And well, that sole decision created a unicorn in the industry.
If you're not on Dandadan, get on Dandadan again.
Yep, that's my guy Preston over at Life and Anime Podcast. But this video wasn't just a normal, hey guys, go check out this anime. Something about this clip was a little bit deeper. Time to conduct the chapter 1 test. Aliens, the supernatural, everything that's unknown fascinates mankind. I mean, when we think about it, the very concept of science itself is trying to explain the unknown. It's us humans trying to understand the world around us and try to improve our quality of life. But sometimes there are things that science can't even explain. I'm talking things that are so far beyond our comprehension that they turn into myths, theories, and sometimes they're actually even factual.
Okay, what is that?
Bro, that's just an airplane, bro. Y'all tweaking. Oh, so you think this one's an airplane?
And in this case, we can definitively say that this entity, this thing in the video is there.
Oh, okay, now hold on. But what Dandadan's able to do better than almost every single anime and manga out there is that it's able to combine multiple different genres all into one. Romance, comedy, battle, adventure, horror. All of these put together make Dandadan the all-in-one anime and manga. Now, one of my favorite concepts of romance is actually beautifully demonstrated in real life. And I'm talking the definition of two people that both have feelings for each other, but the other person doesn't want to reveal their hand too fast. If we're talking in real life, Arata and Chizuru are literally the definition of pump faking their feelings for each other over and over until the shot clock winds down and someone has to chuck up something from half court. Dandadan plays into this concept, but they add a little bit more sauce to it. Now, Momo and Okarun definitely love to pump fake too, but they draw fouls like D-Wade when they do it. I mean, listen, this is early relationship drama between two high school students, y'all. We have Momo Ayase, arguably the greatest female lead in anime history, who lives at her grandmother's house because her parents are out of the picture, and people look at her grandma like she's a quack. But something was different about Momo. Maybe it was because of her upbringing, maybe it's because of her effect with her grandma, but she was curious. Now listen, we've all had phases where we wanted to learn more information, but we were afraid to ask questions because we didn't want to look stupid. Well, this wasn't Momo. Momo had the courage to just walk into random classrooms and talk to anybody and ask questions. I mean, if we're being honest, Momo had the balls that Okarun needed.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here all week. But how did she gain this confidence though? Well, in order to be curious about something, something must pique your interest. And it must pique your interest so much so that you're willing to sacrifice anything to find out this information. I mean, the spark needed to shake things up may not always be what you think it is. In this case, it's Momo's boyfriend breaking up with her. But that sole situation gave her the courage to talk to somebody. But little did she know, this decision would change her life forever. Now we could talk about Okarun. He's a shy guy, but he was low-key clean though. I mean, he had the fade, he had the crispy fade. You know, one of those barbers that uses the lasers? That's the one he had. But then, you know, the anime took it out because he would have been too powerful. He would have been too OP. But Okarun is very reclusive because he's worried about judgment. He already knows that a lot of people look down on him. They see him as weird and don't want to be his friend. And to be honest, if Momo had not intervened and asked him a question about what he was reading, he probably would still be moving down the same path. But from the moment Momo and Okarun met, they were in straight competition with each other. Momo believed in ghosts but was not rocking with the aliens theories, and Okarun believed in UFOs and aliens but had no clue about ghosts. They were both trying to prove each other wrong. But at the time, we did not understand that this competition was kind of just an icebreaker for two love interests. I mean, think about it. The moment Momo ran into some aliens, the first person she called was Okarun. The moment Okarun ran into some yokai, the first person he called was Momo. These two needed each other from the start. And after that, we get our Disney princess ending and they live happily ever after.
Stop the cap.
Of course not. It's never that easy. I mean, from the beginning, Dandadan makes it very clear that they're striving for a more realistic approach of romance. Now, Okarun, he's dealing with some internal conflict. It's either he preserves the friendship or he lets Momo know how he feels about him and runs the risk of losing their friendship forever. Because in Okarun's mind, Momo is a beautiful girl that actually showed interest in his personality, and losing that would crush him. But Momo is dealing with quite the opposite. Momo is longing for Okarun to actually reveal his feelings for her, but she doesn't want to come on too hard and push him away. I mean, let's be honest. honest, this is one of the toughest things to deal with in young love. We've all been there. So, to make it even more realistic, why not throw in another pretty girl that's infatuated with okarun? And oh, let's bring Momo's ex into the mix and shake things up a little bit more. Now we're talking about jealousy, heartbreak. It gets crazy out there for Momo and okarun. But if there's one thing we know about this series is that there's nothing that will come in between those two. Now, enough of the sappy stuff, man. I want to get into the comedy. The most obvious joke of the series is okarun's balls being returned to him. Apparently, his balls have some sort of supernatural power that's able to boost aliens and boost yokai. And sometimes they get tricked, and my guy Piccolo has to say this:
The balls are inert.
But hey, no freaky though. Even though, I mean, it's Dandadan, so it kind of is freaky, but it's not really freaky. All right, I'm gonna stop. But the real comedy is the interaction between the characters. That's my favorite part. Basically, after every story arc, there is a new character that is added to the crew. And then they all chill and eat food like they're at Granny Seiko's house, and it's just a good time. Oh, and by the way, can y'all relax on my girl Seiko? That's me. Last time I checked, y'all were talking about Nami and all those other people. Y'all were not here. I've been in the trenches. Nah, don't switch up now.
You switched up, stay on that side, man.
But Granny Seiko and Turbo Granny do not hold their tongue for anybody. Anybody could get roasted. You have Aira and Momo throwing shots at each other every 5 seconds. These two do not like each other, y'all. It is oil and water with these two. But when it comes down to boxing, I love how they set aside their differences and work together. And then we have to get into Gigi, who a lot of people out there love because of his goofy personality, but we have to admit, Gigi was problematic when he first arrived. I mean, for okarun, this is literally one of those, this is the guy you don't have to worry about type situations. I mean, the dude is super athletic, all the ladies love him, and he is Momo's ex on top of that. That's why my go okarun had to check him real quick. Yeah, try to act like you helping Momo after you just maxed her out. Hell nah, we here, man. But I mean, Gigi's cool until Evil Eye pops out and he wants to box with okarun on a random Tuesday after he just fought some aliens. Oh, and by the way, speaking of aliens, we have Rokuro, who is a Serpo alien who's constantly looking for work because he got abandoned. We'll be mid-battle and he's talking about, oh, where can I apply for my 9 to 5? Like, bro, if you don't lock in. Oh, and then we have Beanie Weenie. He is a mantis shrimp alien, y'all. Literally one of the strongest animals on the planet. One of the most powerful animals on the planet are his abilities. So when it comes to the hands, you do not want to mess with Beanie Weenie. But I love how he went from being a mortal enemy of Momo and okarun to turning into this farmer that disguises himself as a human and only pops out when they really, really need him. Then you have Vamola making Momo jealous off the first time they meet because she's trying to marry okarun right when she wakes up. Love at first sight, legitimately. But once you see her backstory, it makes sense though. I still think Unjizuma's backstory is that one's bad. And then you have Kinta, who's trying to rizz up every girl in the vicinity and nobody's giving him a time of day. But every character has their own unique comedic trope, and that's what makes this series so enjoyable. It does kind of give me that One Piece Straw Hat vibe or even the Fairy Tail Guild from Fairy Tail. Now it's time to talk about some hands, man. We're talking about the battling. Now the power scaling in Dandadan is there, and it takes it to new heights because obviously we're talking about psychic powers, supernatural. The power system kind of reminds me of Mob Psycho 100 having a baby with Gurren Lagann. Like, it's kind of a fusion of the two, and you'll see why in a sec. Most of the main cast is harnessing their abilities from other yokai. For instance, Aira's using her late mother's power, which actually gives her the ability to use her hair, and she gets superhuman strength and abilities. Then you have Gigi, who gets possessed by the evil eye, who's incredibly broken, and like I said, Gigi's also athletic, so that actually makes his spiritual power even better and greater than normal people. But even base Gigi can use spiritual waves and certain things because he has mastered spiral energy, like I said, with Gurren Lagann. Momo's arguably the strongest telekinetic in the entire series. I mean, from frame 1, chapter 1, episode 1, the Serpo aliens literally unlock her power. Remember in Mob Psycho where we saw triple question mark mob, we saw unknown percent mob? I mean, that's what we got a little hint of frame 1, chapter 1, episode 1 with Momo. You can even make a case that Momo is stronger than her grandmother Seiko. But Seiko is much more knowledgeable and she has a lot more experience, so I don't know if she would win in a 1v1. And then you have Vamola and Kinta who are using giant battle suits. I mean, this is literally looking like Transformers and Gundam. It looks wild. Vamola is a Sumerian alien, so she has this battle suit that's able to turn into a giant kaiju. And then you have Kinta, who is able to master the nano skin and then turn it into a giant battle bot. All right, Mr. Tatsu. Salute, I see what you're doing here. But you know we gotta talk about okarun next. He harnessed the ability from the Turbo Granny, y'all. Turbo Granny is one of the fastest yokai in the entire series. And on top of that, okarun was taught to use spiral powers like Gurren Lagann. He's able to travel through telephone wires and all these things. Then you have Unjizuma, who is a problem, harnessing the ability from his late brother, Umbrella Boy. He could use his umbrella to have incredible powers, shoot giant spiritual waves, and even float very often. He also uses it to help propel him to super fast speeds in battle. And then you have the class rep, Rin, who actually uses her late friend's ability. Growing up, Rin and her friend Mai wanted to be child stars in terms of singing and all these things, and her friend ended up passing away. But later on in the series, Rin is able to harness that power, and while she sings, she's able to literally control gravity. But that's not all there is to the power system, because as we know, there are two separate factions in Dandadan. You have the aliens versus the yokai. Now the aliens, they want Okarun's balls because they know that it would help them defeat the yokai, who are indirectly defending the earth from the aliens. Shows you how elite the yokai are, and we'll get into that later. And as we know already, these aliens aren't scrubs by themselves. I mean, they could literally create domain expansion-like techniques. Every time Momo and Okarun battle with an alien, the plane of existence literally changes. And these aliens can also use psychokinesis, and some of them have a lot of military might, specifically the Curve. Now, currently, I'll probably say my strongest yokai is Reiko Kashima. As Granny Seiko said, there's currently no way to really defeat her. We saw her take down an entire army through the use of fighting with mirrors and reflections. Now, as for the aliens, I might have to go with Count Saint Germain, y'all. You see him adding different abilities to his roster. You can't go wrong with a swordsman in anime. You can't. Now, one of my favorite parts of reading Dandadan is exploring Yukinobu Tatsu's ideas on how he views the supernatural. I mean, everybody watching the show or reading the manga has their own perception on how they view the supernatural. Some people think it's hocus pocus, some people believe it's real but in a faraway world or galaxy, and then some people think they are living here among us. But as we read the manga or watch the anime, we get to see how Yukinobu's mind actually perceives the unknown. Okarun had to battle against music yokai that were supposed to help them train. They're aliens that could travel the galaxies within record-breaking time. The Sumerians have battle suits that resemble kaiju. Some of the aliens have very interesting designs that we've seen from other films and media. And probably one of the coolest aspects about this is that some of the yokai that he's introduced into the series actually have some real life stories behind them. Reiko Kashima, Turbo Granny, I mean, these yokai were actually based off of some real life stories. But Yukinobu Tatsu is actually able to add a little more to their character. I mean, Reiko is only able to haunt Momo late at night after 10 p.m. and she has this violent obsession with beauty. Turbo Granny originally resided in a tunnel that was mainly the resting place for a lot of young girls whom she was protecting. And then you have Rin, who was constantly being weighed down by her best friend. I mean, because her friend died as a child, she was a different form of a yokai. And then when we talk about aliens, their ability to shapeshift is not a foreign concept to us. I mean, we've seen that in Men in Black. But even outside of the supernatural aspect, Dandadan does this thing that I love when I'm watching or reading any of these anime series, and that's the ability to bring back characters that matter. We've seen My Hero do this with Gentle Criminal and La Brava, and now you see Dandadan following suit. One Piece is a master at this, and I love the way Dandadan's able to make other characters matter that we forgot about. Now, I'm no stranger to horror films. Some of my favorites include Sinister, The Conjuring 2, Smile 2, Hereditary, and even The Babadook. And if you notice, there's something that these horror movies are able to do that a bunch of others are not, and that's the ability to make you terrified without excessive use of jump scares. Personally, for me, jump scares are cool from time to time, but when you spam them like some other movies, it doesn't hit the same. The true key is being able to use the silence, the stillness, and darkness, and different camera angles to help paint the picture of what's really creepy.
Who's that?
And honestly, this is something that Dandadan truly excels at. When most of the yokai power up, I mean, their designs are some of the most chilling designs I've ever seen. Their faces are unforgettable. And there's even a yokai that doesn't have a face, like the giant sandworm. I mean, just looking at the sandworm can make you want to off yourself. But there's one character that beats all the rest in terms of fear and horror. Reiko Kashima. Nobody comes close to this character and her ability to induce fear. Reiko was introduced to us as a yokai that resided in a barricaded part of town. Granny Seiko told Momo to never go to this side of town because deep down she already knew that Reiko was out there and that there's no way to stop Reiko once Reiko is unleashed. However, one day Momo and Vamola were running late for school. Now Momo already knew that cutting through this side of town was off limits, but she also knew this was a shortcut to get to school faster. And in this specific scenario, Momo decided to gamble, and this was probably one of the worst decisions she's made in the entire series. As Momo and Vamola are cutting through the barricaded part of town that Granny Seiko told them not to go through, we get to see Reiko Kashima for the first time. Again, her design is chilling, her face is scary, and she even has a twisted view on how she interacts with Momo and Vamola. Now, as we discussed earlier, I believe Reiko is the strongest yokai in the series so far. I mean, she could travel through any mirror, any reflection, in and pop out and trap others in the mirror world. And in this battle, Momo and Vimola were getting maxed out. And we know Momo is very, very strategic in battle. She kind of gives me Ueki Kosuke vibes from Law of Ueki. Sick plug, I know. But she's very strategic, and even that was not working on Reiko Kashima because she's broken. The only way they were able to escape her is by saying the magic word pomade 3 times. And that does not stop Reiko indefinitely. It just makes her disappear temporarily. But Momo thought it was all good. She thought, all right, I went to school, I went back home to Granny Seiko's house, it's all good. Until Granny Seiko tells her what's really going to happen next. Seiko warns her that the war just got started, that it is absolutely crucial that she does not stay out past 10 p.m. That it is crucial that she covers every single mirror and reflection or anything in her room that she can see her reflection in, because Reiko is going to haunt her for a full week straight. Granny Seiko also warns Momo that she has to ignore every single sound, every voice, everything past 10 p.m. because much to our surprise, Reiko also has the ability to copy voices. One night, Momo is in bed, window completely covered, mirror covered, everything is covered, and then she hears a voice from outside her window, but the voice resembles okarun, someone who she loves. Okarun is talking to Momo, and actually he's confessing his feelings towards her, which is something that Momo has longed for a very, very long time. And Momo was buying into it, having a conversation with him, loving it. But there was one thing that threw her off. Okarun did not address her as Miss Ayase, and that's something that Okarun always says when he talks to Momo, and that's when she knew it wasn't real. So after Okarun kept begging and pleading to be let into the room, Momo exposed Okarun as being Reiko, and that's when Reiko started crashing out, banging on the windows, banging everywhere, begging and yelling at Momo to let her in. And Momo had to sit in her bed in complete silence, covering her ears while listening to Reiko yell and scream and begging at her, trying to get her to open up the door, open up the window so she can squabble. So after Momo was able to survive that night by almost getting tricked by Reiko, you would think Reiko would cash in her chips and say, you know what, Momo got it, I'm done. I'm telling y'all, Reiko does not play around. Listen to me, Reiko Kashima is that dangerous and that lethal that even the slightest miscalculation, everybody's cooked. Because as I said, she's the strongest yokai in the series. You did not want to get on her bad side. And that was the scenario where I really thought Momo was fried. I did not know what was gonna happen. Now listen guys, we've talked romance, comedy, battle, adventure, horror. We talked about all different genres of anime manga, and Dandadan has done an exceptional job at handling all 5. Now, if you're a manga reader of Dandadan, definitely put down in the comment sections below what you think about this manga, because we need to get the anime onlys on our side, man. It's time for them to start reading Dandadan too. And I'm also very excited that this beautiful manga has an anime adaptation that's going crazy right now. The opening is going fire, like everybody loves Dandadan. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.